A turbulent wind approaches. Or maybe that's just what I had for lunch. In other news, DreamHack Summer has been on its way. If you're familiar with DreamHack, it's actually usually a LAN-focused series for mostly PC gaming, but it's featured fighting game tournaments and its repertoire for many years now, generally featuring mostly local competition. Not too many international players travel out unless it's part of like a Capcom Pro Tour like it has in the past, but in recent years, DreamHack has just been running its own side Street Fighter and Tekken fighting game tournaments. And then, players from the regions tend to travel out to attend those. But DreamHack Dallas this year was extremely stacked with all the top NA competition, Japanese competition, Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and Asia Pacific. In fact, this was probably the most stacked tournament we've seen since Capcom Cup, and it's the first international showing we've seen of international top-level talent since the Season 2 balance patch for Street Fighter 6. So why are all these people showing up to a DreamHack event in Dallas for Street Fighter 6? Well, it's for this right here. As you can see, the man himself, Chris Wong, proudly holding up his little sign there that he signed with his name, punching his ticket into the Esports World Cup, officially qualifying via the top 8 of DreamHack Dallas. Because if you finish top 8 at this DreamHack event, you qualify for the Esports World Cup. Now, if you've heard anything about this Esports World Cup, you would know that they're throwing a lot of money around. And, it's a very controversial topic and controversial organization because, this is run by the Saudi Arabian government. It's going to be in Riyadh. And they're throwing around big prize money for all of these titles here, including Street Fighter 6 and Tekken 8, $1 million prize pools. And the split is very generous because it's not all top heavy like Capcom Cup, even though Capcom Cup features over $1 million, like I think $1,300,000, something of that sort. The pricing split is much more generous and stable so that if you go there and you do decent, you'll actually get a good chunk of change. And on top of that, a lot of esports organizations are currently signing a lot of fighting game players and sending them around the world to attempt to qualify for this event because there's also the $20 million club championship going on. So what is that? Across all these titles, they're going to tally points based on how players are doing who are part of a single organization. And then the organization that has the best performances with all their players across all titles will be awarded prize money based on that performance. So a lot of teams are just signing fighting game players left and right. It's like a cheap bet, basically. Oh, we are already in the PUBG esports space. Potentially, we can earn a lot more money if we just buy up a relatively cheap compared to other esports fighting game player who has a good shot of qualifying and increase our chance of winning and gathering points for that club championship. Now, of course, like I mentioned before, this is a very controversial organization, and if you choose to not support it for your own beliefs, I totally understand that. I do advise people who are on the fence about this topic and the Esports World Cup to do your own research, come to your own conclusions, but know that it's not stopping the top-level talent from attending from all over the world to qualify, because the money speaks, and it is giving the biggest international showing we've seen since like an actual Capcom Pro Tour event, kind of like the pre-COVID offline CPT events. So that said, with this event, we have 8 players qualifying out of this top 8 into the Esports World Cup. Zhen, Phenom, Chris Wong, Gachikun, Problem X, NuckleDo, Oil King, and Higuchi. So Higuchi managed to get his qualification spot. And in fact, here he is earning that spot in the top 16 here up against MenaRD. Goes for level 3, but it hits too high up. Doesn't get all the hits. It's kind of rare to see that. I actually have never really seen that in a tournament match with Guile. MenaRD, though, on match point, so Higuchi has to stay alive to make his top 8 appearance here. But the check from MenaRD into the overhead. Confirms to level 3. And MenaRD takes it over Higuchi in the loser side to make it into the top 8. But how does that work out? MenaRD is already qualified for the Esports World Cup because he won EVA Japan. EVA Japan was made a qualifier for the Esports World Cup. So this creates a very interesting situation where Higuchi is now not automatically put into the 8th spot for that Esports World Cup qualification because he's actually tied for 9th with 3 other players. So if you go to the bracket to see what's going on here, Nephew here was eliminated by Problem X after an amazing run. He took out Kawano and Fudo, the CPT Japan qualifier to Capcom Cup in 2023, the last Capcom Cup for Street Fighter 6 that just ended, and Fudo, the World Warrior regional finalist out of Japan. So that's a great run, taking out both Kawano and Fudo before dropping to Problem X. DCQ here lost to Oil King in the end. Higuchi there, we saw him losing to MenaRD. And NuckleDu eliminated Dual Kevin after Dual Kevin went on an amazing run, beating JB and Angry Bird here, trying to claw his way into the top 8. So Angry Bird, you know, the EVO champion, was defeated by Dual Kevin there. So these players had to figure out who is going to get that final qualification spot into the Esports World Cup, which is the entire reason any of them are actually at this tournament. While DreamHack Dallas does offer decent amounts of prize money, the reason they're here is to get their ticket to Riyadh to potentially win $1 million over there in Saudi Arabia. So how do they figure it out? Well, they actually do a mini tournament of these 9th place losers to figure out who is going to make it into that final spot. And here we have it. It boils down to DCQ versus Higuchi. Higuchi checks the dry rush from DCQ. And then the man who causes chaos to happen, this led to an extra hour of matches on stream. He pops off here, not because he made it to the top 8. His tournament run is over. He just earned his spot into the Esports World Cup, and he caused all the chaos by losing to MenaRD when this could have all been avoided if he had just won. And then DCQ, big shout outs to DCQ here because he was in winner's side of top 16, lost to Phenom 2-0. If he had won that set, he would have been in top 8, qualified for the Esports World Cup. Drops down to losers, loses 2-1 to Oil King. If he had won that set, he would have been in top 8, qualified for Esports World Cup. And then in the mini tournament, he loses to DCQ. If he had won that set 2-1, he would have been in top, not in top 8, but he would have been in the Esports World Cup. So he had 3 chances to qualify, the most out of any player here. 3 chances coming from the winner's side, and 3 chances he was denied. The entire reason he got on a plane, hopped over to Texas from China. 3 times he came so close to qualifying and was denied each and every time. So that is such a heartbreaker. It reminds me of DCQ actually getting 5th place in Capcom Cup, where I believe 5th place was like $10,000 pricing, but if he had won one more match, he would have won $100,000 pricing, and he was in winner's side top 8. So he went 0-2 at the point where he would have jumped into the 6-figure territory for the prize money. So DCQ has been gatekept at that like last moment for the big money multiple times now. It's kind of sad to see. But also they did a 3rd place match between Nephew and Dual Kevin. For no reason. There was no prize money on the line, but instead of having anyone tie for any placing, they made a 12th, 11th, 10th, and 9th place. So they had a 3rd place match between the losers to figure out the biggest loser of them all. So unfortunately, Dual Kevin, that was you. I don't know why they did this match. They're forced to just like play for no reason. So very interesting developments in that top 8 to figure out these qualifiers. But then moving on to the actual top 8 bracket, Zhen versus Phenom, Chris Wong Gachikun, Problem X, Oil King, MenaRD, NuckleDu. And there's something interesting going on. So do you guys remember Zhen, the Capcom Cup 2022 LCQ winner for the final Capcom Cup for Street Fighter V, the man who went on to be undefeated with his M. Bison gameplay for nearly a week straight until he finally ran into MenaRD in the winners finals, who put him into losers, and then eventually losing to him in the grand finals of Capcom Cup, where MenaRD went on to become the only 2-time Capcom Cup champion, and Zhen cemented himself in the histories of Street Fighter competitive history, being the only person to win the LCQ and go this far and have the most legendary LCQ run of all time. Well, why was MenaRD in losers causing this whole crazy situation in the first place about who's going to qualify into the Esports World Cup? That is because the Capcom Cup runback occurred off stream in top 32. So Zhen versus MenaRD, this is winner's side here. They're playing off stream, and if you can tell by the timestamps, 4 minutes and 13 seconds. This was a quick one, a beatdown. Only 5 rounds total. MenaRD did get 1 round on the board, but Zhen took it in the runback over the man who stopped him from doing the impossible, winning the LCQ and winning Capcom Cup. Took it in 2 games, quick fashion over MenaRD. But that's not all. They then met up in top 8. MenaRD made his run back through loser side to meet up with the Zhen. And then look at this sequence here. This is textbook. So Zhen puts himself into burnout initially here, disrupting any potential mix-up from the drive rush, puts himself in burnout, but he has corner control and super meter. Look at the backdash to maintain the corner space, air-to-air to prevent MenaRD from side swapping, backs out of the range of any jumping option to avoid any mix-up. Checking the fireballs with the level 2 and the reactions perfectly spaced to be max range on the level 2. The burnout timer is running up. He gets the safe jump pressure with the bazooka knee here. MenaRD tries to mash out of it, and Zhen goes back into burnout using all of his resources to convert, uses the level 1, and takes it 3-0 over MenaRD. MenaRD, fresh off his Evo Japan victory, is double jeopardied by Zhen with, the nerfed version of Season 2 DJ, the man that he had stopped from winning Capcom Cup back in 2022. So that was a huge kind of, not necessarily an upset, but a statement from Zhen, because he's an exchange student, or not an exchange student, an international student in Canada from China originally. So he's able to compete easily in these NA tournaments. He went kind of quiet during the first season of Street Fighter 6, focusing more on his studies, but he's back and he's here to compete for sure. And then what did MenaRD have to say about his defeat, his double jeopardy to Zhen here with his DJ? MenaRD had this to say. So this is a instant classic meme. This is actually by Shuckle, world-renowned shit poster on FGC Twitter. So I will link their actual profile in the description here if you want to see more of their memes. But MenaRD tweeted this out. 11,000 likes about this. So he had more to say after the fact. He's obviously extremely competitive and is looking to destroy DJ and destroy Zhen, because you got to remember, at Capcom Cup as well, MenaRD got out of groups and losers after losing to Lashar, Chun-Li in his groups, and then he was eliminated by Fudo's DJ in top 16 of Capcom Cup. So MenaRD was one of the favorites to potentially win Capcom Cup, so he has DJ on the brain for sure. He wants to figure out how to stop this character, and he's not happy about that defeat, so it'll be interesting to see what solutions he ends up coming up with. But that said, this top 8 was actually all about one man, Gachikun. Gachikun, the Rashid loyalist, the Capcom Cup 2018 champion that he won with Rashid, of course. He was dominating this tournament, and with the way he was playing, listen, spoilers ahead, it was no surprise. He won this whole tournament. Chris Wong goes down 3-0 to Gachikun. Gachikun was also defeated by Chris Wong at Capcom Cup this year. He got third place with Rashid, so he got the run back there over Chris Wong. 3-2 over Phenom, and then 3-1 over Problem X. And look how he closes out this DreamHack tournament here. Gets the challenge on the level 2 there. Knockdown, approaches, gets the counter hit stagger after the safe jump into the level 2. And look at the tech here. You wanted to punish that sweep on block? How silly of you. Now hold this corner, hold this mix. You didn't block the high-low mix into the confirmation with the enhanced mixer from the level 2. And Gachikun takes it. But look at that. Look at this setup. Level 2, the tornado's on top of you. Time to guess. Now, a lot of people here, they will say, just take the throw. If you try to challenge Rashid with the tornado covering him, you're going to get bopped. You're going to have a bad time. But you see here, Gachikun plays with that expectation. He dashes up and does a point-blank sweep. Totally unsafe on block. Begging you to attempt to punish. And what does Problem X do? He does what his brain has been trained, his reflexes have been trained to do, and through years of hard work and dedication, he goes for the punish. And then, of course, the tornado is covering him. You cannot punish this. It makes it safe. You get popped by the tornado. Gachikun even went for a throw tech there in case he respected the whole situation. He would sneak in a throw in the negative frames. So just gnarly situation to be in. You really just had to sit there and do nothing and just let the tornado approach. But he, Gachikun baited his instincts out right there with Rashid's level 2, the Yasar right there, and takes it over Problem X and becomes the DreamHack Dallas champion right there. And here you can see him celebrating his win and celebrating his qualification along with Higuchi right there. Because once again, all these players are flying out from across the world because they want to qualify for that Esports World Cup. That is the primary goal right there. The win itself is just the cherry on top for Gachikun. This trophy it's not as much as that $1 million prize pool. I'll say that much. But for all the players who ended up not qualifying, they did have another shot. But one player in particular was rather disappointed with the way things shook out for their run at DreamHack Dallas, and that is Big Bird. Big Bird out at 33rd place with 3 wins and 2 losses. Here you can see his record. He lost to Fenrich, extremely strong top-level JP out of Japan. And, of course, if you actually follow other game scenes, BlazBlue God, Dragon Ball, Fighters God, Anime God. This guy, he does it all. And Uriel, he qualified for Capcom Cup in 2022 out of Mexico. One of the best Kens in NA right now. Took it over Big Bird, and this is what he had to say about his performance. Out of DreamHack Dallas, I think I'll have to leave Marissa and do mostly Rashid. Will keep Marissa for Guile and Geef, maybe. But I'm done with Marissa. She's too hard to play in 2 out of 3 and too volatile for my standards. So, Big Bird, I mean, in this profile picture right here, he's holding the trophy, the Red Bull Kumite South Africa Trophy, the event that happened very shortly after Street Fighter 6's release. He won that with Marissa. He's been a mostly dedicated Marissa main for all of Season 1, and he has been using Rashid because he is a previous Rashid player. In Street Fighter V, he used Rashid heavily to great competitive success, and he's been picking up the character and using it here and there for some tournament matches, but mostly sticking with Marissa. But this time he says he's done. He's talked about in the past how difficult it is to be consistent with Marissa, and he's had several disappointing results for his own standards because he's a guy who's been to EVO Grand Finals before. He's won championship events, so he knows when he ends up underperforming and getting a disappointing result, he knows how it feels to play below his own standards. And he's been contemplating this issue with Marissa potentially being a little bit bulkier to use, a little slower, not as easily able to start her own offense as other characters are in this game and keep the pressure going. So he's been debating for a while, and after this event, it was all the motivation he needed to pull the trigger and switch to Rashid, his old main. And he has a chance to test out his skills few weeks later, because now we have DreamHack Sweden coming up, and once again, look at the notable entrants for this event. I mean, people are traveling from all over the world for that shot at the Esports World Cup. I mean, we really haven't seen this level of international talent mixing since like a proper Capcom Pro Tour offline season, like in 2019 prior to COVID in 2020. So a lot of those players you saw in DreamHack Dallas, they hopped on a plane and went over to Sweden, and then we got a lot more local EU talent representing in this event as well. But one of the biggest matches from this event, Xiaohai versus Punk. This match was actually to get into top 8 winner's side. And this match is big because you might have recalled these two crossing paths in Street Fighter League, the first season for Street Fighter 6. Punk, he had some big wins over Xiaohai and they exchanged some words. But Xiaohai ultimately got revenge in the end by eliminating Punk and beating his team. He was working with Team Bandits. Team Bandits actually ends up winning Street Fighter League USA and goes on to win Street Fighter League Worlds, led by MenaRD. And we're reminded of this interaction they had because, and I'm sorry for those who have seen it, and I'm sorry for those who will see it for the first time here. Zhen, for some reason, had this video to share with the world. Hey, Brian F. in post here. Had to mute this music to avoid the copyright strike and put some royalty-free house music. So I'm going to narrate the Are memes. You nervous? Are you nervous? There they go, Punk breaking it down. Oh yeah, look at the moves. So good. So good. I synced this up pretty good, actually. He's really trash. I double P on him. Punk popping off after bodying Xiaohai. But the runback, I am not scared of him. I don't know who's dancing better. Xiaohai, Ken, Punk, or Cammy? Who knows? 128 BPM. It's not too good, I think. He's not too good. Xiaohai popping off against Punk. Why is he not good? He is always the second because he is not the best. Not the best. Okay, bye, guys. So, if you guys understand that, great. I don't know what's going on here. I think the memes in China are they're in 2034, right? They're just ahead of the game here. So apparently this became a big deal, this whole beef between Punk and Xiaohai, where Xiaohai, he asked, are you nervous before their first match in Street Fighter League? And Punk took it personally and had some choice words for him after beating him, but Xiaohai ended up getting revenge in the end, actually, in Street Fighter League and ended up taking the win in the end here. So they finally have the first run back from this moment in this top 8 qualifier match at DreamHack Sweden, and here we have the final moments here. It was an extremely tense match, and Punk was on the verge of winning, potentially 2-0. And here we see Xiaohai on match point, and look at the footsies. Stands up. We got the fist bump. We got the minor pop off. Sportsman-like in the end, but I mean, look at this. Look at this. The light kick here. You wanted to whip punch the light kick, you get sweeped for your troubles here. Xiaohai actually played extremely clean. Really interesting Ken style. If you watch back this set, his usage of standing light kick is actually very, very unique throughout this entire match. But he ends up taking the match over Punk here, putting himself in winner's side top 8, which gives us in the end our esports qualifiers here, Esports World Cup qualifiers here. Kawano, Itabashi, Big Bird, and Xiaohai, who all qualified in top 8 winner side, and Rain Pro, Bonchan, Hikaru, and Punk. Punk did eventually end up making it in. So all these players will be competing in the top 8 and will be competing in the Esports World Cup for that $1 million prize pool. But onto the top 8 itself, the talk of the town was actually this man right here, Zangief. If you notice, this top 8 had a decent character spread. Itabashi Zangief is in there rocking Zangief. Hikaru's in there as well, the young Aki player. But people were really wondering what Itabashi was going to be doing. Some people were predicting Itabashi Zangief would be winning the whole tournament, because not only is Itabashi playing amazing this weekend, he's also using Season 2 buffed Geefs. If you've been paying attention to the patch, they basically took all the spreadsheet values of all the positive attributes for Geef's moves and just kind of multiplied everything by 10. His drive gauge damage that he does on all of his moves is absurd now. Improved combo potential, improved frame traps. This character's a beast for sure right now, and I feel like a lot of people are feeling that heat now in the online streets. People can feel the power of Zangief, and so Itabashi Zangief, he's been one of the, along with Snake Eyes, I feel like Snake Eyes in the West and Itabashi Zangief in the East, those two guys are like the quintessential Zangief players. So he's back with his dedicated Zangief, but not only is he back with his Zangief, he's back with this contraption. What is this? It is on arcade stick. The meaning of chaos. This is not just an oversized NES controller. This is literally the arcade stick that Itabashi Zangief was seen using. So he has his arcade stick here on the left side, and it looks like only 5 buttons here on a sloped angle, which I guess is supposed to be more ergonomic. I'm guessing these are his primary attack buttons. That might be a jump button. And then there might be like a parry and a DI. I don't know where his light punch is. I don't know what's going on. So a lot of players have been adding extra buttons for things like parry and DI macros, which is very good to do because it's very possible to potentially miss. Like if you go for parry, you might do medium kick or medium punch 1 frame earlier than the other, which can end up with you getting counter hit rather than getting parry. And I know that personally because I don't use a macro for parry. There's an in-game macro for parry. I do it manually, and I get counter hit when I attempt to parry all the time. So it's very dumb to not use a macro. So a lot of players, what they ended up doing is adding extra buttons on their controllers to add these macros in more ergonomic positions. But I don't know what's going on here. I don't know the layout. He's playing on that thingy-doodad, and he's churning on SPDs like nobody's business. And he's having an amazing match in this top 8 against Kawano, you know, the EVO 2022 champion in Street Fighter V. He's back now. He switched over to Akuma for this tournament, already in top 8 winners. And here we are, last game, last round. Kawano ends up landing this level 3. And Itabashi, a pixel away from burnout, purposely eats the fireball to avoid the burnout, purposely eats the fireball to take the damage instead of the drive gauge chip, which allows him to go for the perfect parry on the DI because he couldn't counter DI and survive. Gets the knockdown, gets in for the mix, forces the burnout on Kawano himself, gets the perfect string. Kawano had 0 super meter to counter this. This is checkmate unless he drops the combo. This would have been comeback potentially of this season. So the way he strategically purposely eats the fireballs here is brilliant, because if he blocked this fireball, he would be guaranteed in burnout, and then he has basically no options. He only has a level 1 currently. He would build a level 2, but level 1 is not invincible to DI. So purposely eating this hit right here allows him to stay alive for another interaction. Does it again to keep allowing his drive meter to rebuild. And then perfectly times the perfect parry here, which is his only option to actually survive this DI. Because if you press DI right there, he would actually die. He wouldn't have enough health to absorb it. And then getting this Oki is so smart. There's 0 super meter on the side of Kawano. With this block string, as soon as he confirmed that he blocked the drive rush into knee, he's able to get the Hell Stab to force the burnout. And then this whole sequence is a beautiful block string, which gives him a guaranteed DI. And all he needed to do at this point was headbutt into crouch medium punch into level 2, and Kawano was dead. 9k health on the side of Akuma. It would surely be enough to kill. But being the professional that Itabashi is, he decides to instead go for Hell Stab into level 2, down forward medium punch. The super input is double quarter circle forward, and to do the down forward as part of the double quarter circle forward input, it's very difficult and very tricky for a lot of people. Some Zangief players I heard recommend doing the down forward during the first quarter circle, but let it be known that a lot of people find this input to be very awkward and very droppable, so he clearly attempted to do the down forward medium here during the first quarter circle, but activated the medium too late, was holding forward past the down forward portion of the quarter circle and got forward medium here and missed out on the link, which caused him to drop the combo and be chipped by the ODDP to lose the tournament set. So he could have kept it simple. He could have done just a crouching medium or something else less optimal, or just a basic jumping combo to level 2. There's many other ways he could have done this to be less optimal and get the kill, but, you know, tournament brain is just going for the big damage combo, and he dropped it in the end. And unfortunately, that spells disaster for Itabashi. You know, he's laughing in the end and putting his head down. He knows he blew it. But that was a super sick set. Very fun to watch. But Kawano ends up taking it over Itabashi in the end there. And then on the loser side, another sick match. You know, Punk goes up against Hikaru for the first round of losers here. Hikaru, extremely young player. I've talked about him on this channel multiple times. He's been in the top of the leaderboards for MR with Aki multiple times. And Aki is another character along with Zangief. Those two are probably the most buffed characters in this patch. And now we both see them in this top 8. And Hikaru was playing Aki since release. And he's using this character to great effect. Look at this round here against Punk. Using the new command dash to fake him out there. Look at the approaches. Look at the offensive speed he's playing at. Back dash, forward dash, negative frames into perfect parry. You try to take your turn back. Why would you do that? Poison proc into the knockdown here. What's the mix? Poison puddle. Overhead denied. Back dash, back in. Heavy stab hands. Back throw. You misspaced your jump there. Any confirm will do it. That's plus there. Forces the drive reversal out of Punk. Punk is in a dangerous spot. Oh, look at the bait right there as well. I think he could have killed on that combo conversion as well, but look at him just controlling the pace back and forth. Punk could not figure it out, and he gets a perfect with, what is that, like 54, 53 seconds on the clock? Nearly a 40-second, nearly a 50-second perfect right there. And look at, this is my favorite moment of this sequence. Gets the light whip right there as sort of a fireball sort of spacing tool. Then drive rush in, purposely stop momentum right away with immediate light whip again to bait Punk's reaction. Punk presses jab here, expecting a button out of the drive rush in order to check it with the jab, expecting the momentum of the drive rush to continue with the button. But when you do it into the light whip here, you just completely pause momentum and baits out the punish. So I thought that was really clever from Hikaru, using Punk's reactions against him in that instance. I think he could have killed I think he could have done a conversion there to kill the level 3, but really well played from Hikaru, showing off his offensive sensibilities and the power of Aki in this patch. But of course, it's all about this man right here. The man who said Marissa wasn't enough to do it, even though Marissa was the character he used to win this tournament, this belt right here, Red Bull Kumite South Africa. He decides to switch to Rashid for this event, and he finds himself in winner's top 8, and he is cooking the competition. He wins 3-0 over Shanghai, and then in winners finals, 3-1 over Kawano, and he is sitting pretty in grand finals winners side, waiting to see his opponent will be. And who is that man? It's a man on a mission. Bonchan. Bonchan has been cooking up a storm in losers bracket this whole time. He goes into top 8 via the loser side, goes 3-1 over Rain Pro, 3-0 over Shanghai, 3-0 over Hikaru, and 3-1 over Kawano. I feel like Bonchan in Street Fighter 6 has been having really good performances, but for some reason he seems forgettable at this moment in time. Even though he had amazing performances, especially in Street Fighter League Japan, he hasn't really had that big grand finals appearance, that big win in any international showing. And I feel like this tournament was the event to remind people that the EVO 2019 champion is here to play. He's been a legend in the Street Fighter scene for a very long time. First with the Sagat play, then his Nash play in Street Fighter V, and Karen play as well. And now doing it with the Luke in Street Fighter 6. And speaking of EVO 2019, this is a run back for these two players. Bonchan and Big Bird were the grand finals participants for EVO 2019, where it came down to the final game, final round in the first set between these opponents. Bonchan fighting to close the tournament out right now and seal the deal, and then Big Bird here fighting to reset the bracket. Bonchan, he landed this hit here, gets the stun. It's looking bad for Big Bird. With the high scaling, he goes for the reset, gets the side swap. Remember those days? Gnarly. He's alive. Wake up low forward with a pixel. Bonchan tried to walk back to bait out a reversal. He goes low instead. Yasar comes out, the V-trigger, and denied. And that makes our champion infectious. Do you guys remember this? When I was digging these clips up to put this whole piece together, I completely forgot about the infectious name drop. Literally, I'm sitting here getting these clips together. I burst out laughing. I completely forgot. Infectious world champion. Infectious out of the UK. He was in the top 8. I think he got 4th or 3rd. I don't know why they queued it up. It's neither Big Bird nor Bonchan, but Infectious won Evo at that moment. But it's poetic. This is how it goes out. Big Bird really almost made an amazing comeback right there. But as soon as he popped the V-trigger, which is equivalent to Rashid's level 2 in Street Fighter 6, he goes for the immediate dive kick, eagle spike right here, which would be safe on block. Bonchan reads that and jumps back out of the way to punish on the landing frames to close out the tournament. So it's only fitting that these players who shared a toast, as they're both Red Bull athletes, professionals here, a part of Red Bull's roster, who cheered each other with their Red Bull back in EVO 2019 before the grand finals. Here they are in 2024 in DreamHack Sweden, cheering once again the Red Bulls to each other. You know, they know how to do their product placement. That is for sure. They are professionals. And it's also only fitting that this tournament closes out with another instance of V-trigger, or rather level 2 Rashid's Yasar. Gets the throw, dash up, level 2 Yasar set up. Safe drive impact covered by the Yasar. Gets the combo conversion, and Big Bird is the champion. And then there's the mix-ups, they keep going. You thought that DI that was covered by the level 2 was a huge mix-up where you didn't know what to do about it. Look at this mix-up. He's going for the hug. He's going for the handshake. He's going to... No, he's doing none of that. He's putting the Red Bull out on the ground. I think he's moving the drink out of the way.
And what a huge turnaround for his performance in Dallas as well.
He's doing none of it. Yeah, I think they kicked over the Red Bulls that they had set down. It's either a handshake or a hug, but the low. The mixes don't stop there. But this sequence, this is just nasty business, man. This level 2 out here goes for the low forward and into the DI. If you try to counter DI, I'm fairly certain that this Yasar would actually break the armor and you would die anyways. Your only option here would be to parry the DI to survive for another mix-up. And he closes it out with the nasty stuff. And Big Bird becomes your champion. And that makes Rashid the 2-time DreamHack champion, and the winners of both international showings that we've had for Season 2 were Rashid players. Very interesting developments. So this finally got people to start talking about Rashid a little bit, because Rashid was one of the characters that I think was really strong in Season 1. He took time to develop, and we started to see decent results from Rashid players as the season went on, including players like, of course, Gachikun. Gachikun won CPT Singapore and then ended up in 3rd place at Capcom Cup. But we also saw players like JB do a lot of work. You know, JB actually double jeopardied Kakadu's JP in the LCQ with Rashid as well. And so Rashid, he's in a great position because he was very strong. Even though he was slightly nerfed, they did actually slightly nerf the level 2 by reducing or locking out the meter gain, super meter gain during the level 2. He's in a great position because the characters that were better than him, most of them were nerfed. And even though they nerfed the meter building, this super is very, very gnarly. And if you remember, the final interactions for both grand finals featured a situation where players were basically sitting there watching their impending doom. As the turbulent winds approached, they sat there, they didn't know what to do, They had to hold that because there's very little counterplay besides just taking the offensive pressure and trying to survive and then deal with the mix-up after the plus frames come in with the enhanced mixer or something of that sort. So it's finally time. Is it time to go hard on Rashid on social media? Well, Big Bird here has to say after this all wraps up, a day has passed and I haven't seen any complaints about Rashid. I'd like to thank Itazan for making Geef take the fall for us. Gachikun replies, shh. Big Bird replies, shh. So there you have it. The Rashid players are trying to keep it under wraps for now and trying to take their wins in silence. That's all I have for this video. Let me know what you think about Rashid, what you think about these DreamHack qualifiers, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.